Should you update to iOS 17.3 or iPad OS 17.3? That's what we're going to answer. And to be quite frank, this video is probably going to be real short because the list of new features are very tiny, at least the features that will matter to you. The highlight feature of iOS 17.3 that I believe every iPhone user would automatically turn on when it's available is stolen device protection. Now, this feature came up as a result of a Wall Street Journal article where thieves were stealing people's iPhones, and because they saw their targets enter their passcode, they were able to steal the iPhone and get all of the financial data as well as any other personal data. So you can imagine how serious this would be. And when I lived in New York, I did see it a few times, especially on public transit, where the victim would be sitting near the door, they're using their phone, and right as the doors are closing, the thief would snatch the phone right out of the victim's hand. And because the door would have shut by then, the victim would not be able to attempt to retrieve their stolen iPhone. So this feature actually makes it so that when you attempt to change your Apple ID password, your turn off Find My, update any iCloud settings, access your iCloud keychain, then you would have to authenticate biometrically in order to make any of those changes. So it's not like going to be before where you can enter the passcode, and this is going to be really helpful. And I should also mention that this is going to work for both Touch ID and Face ID devices. So if you have an iPhone that has Touch ID, then you would be able to get this feature as long as your phone can update to iOS 17.3. Besides that, Apple Music also gets an upgrade. So now you can collaborate on playlists with other friends who are also using Apple Music. But because this feature is so tiny, quite frankly, if you're using Spotify, then you're not going to care a lot about this feature. The last feature that is available is some wallpapers in order to celebrate Black Unity. So you know Apple's trying to get its ESG scores up. On the iPad side, at least for my 10.5-inch iPad Pro, there's not a lot of changes. It's just the collaborative playlist and the wallpapers. So if you have an iPad and it's available to update to iOS 17.3, then you're not going to get a lot of useful features from it, especially if you're upgrading from like a previous iOS 17 version. So at the end of the day, should you upgrade to 17.3 when it comes out? My answer would be twofold. On the iPhone side, I would say definitely upgrade to get that stolen device protection feature. You can turn it on, and if you decide to turn it off, then you have the option to do so. But if you are the type of person who tends to use their phones in public places like a bar, public transit, then this is a feature you definitely want to enable. If the worst happens, then you know that your data and your financial information is secure. On the iPad side, if you have an older iPad like I do, then you could upgrade to 17.3, but just don't expect a lot of features. And if you're still on iOS 16, I think now is a good point to upgrade to 17.3, at least for the security enhancements. And also iOS 17.3 is at a stable point where we no longer have to worry about bugs that plague iOS 17 and 17.1 and 0.2. So 17.3 is stable on the devices I used. I used an iPhone 15 Pro and a 13 Pro, and on the iPad I mentioned the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I would just say upgrade. You know, if you're on the iPad, you could upgrade it, but just don't expect a lot of new features. So if you found this video helpful, please like, comment on a feature that you wish Apple would implement for iOS 17.4 or iOS 18, and leave a comment on what video you would like to see next. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Take care.